I have to say that one of the beautifully frustrating things about Belgium is that power is largely decentralized. So even down to the local commune level. So what we have seen is really a patchwork of restrictions being put in place. You can literally cross the street and be obliged to a whole different set of lockdown measures. We have started to see the numbers turn a corner. The number of new cases is down about 50% now last week compared to the week before, but we're still averaging more than 7,600 new cases a day, and the hospitals are now just starting to get some breathing room. So the government does not want to jeopardize what could be the beginning stages of a turnaround. So we're not expecting these measures to be changed anytime soon. And in fact, the Prime Minister has said himself that until a vaccine can be widely distributed, that some of these restrictions are going to have to stay in place for a very long time.
The United Kingdom, of course, made up of 4 countries here, where I am in England, but also Wales, Scotland and Northern Ireland. And from the off, really, they've had a lot of say over health policy, and what the central government in London has allowed them to do is to chart their own courses when it comes to how to deal with the virus. Here in England, where the majority of the population lives, almost 70 million people, about 67 million people, it's back into its second lockdown of the year now. It isn't as severe as the first one, it must be said, but it will last until December 2nd.
Yeah, well, Germany, a country of 83 million people, it's Europe's biggest economy. And, you know, in many ways, it won a lot of praise for its handling of the first wave of the pandemic. It had a relatively short lockdown, around 6 weeks in spring. But despite saying for many months that they wanted to avoid a second one at all costs, that's exactly what we saw come in to play last week. Last Monday, this second lockdown was brought across Germany. And there's a couple of things which make it quite interesting. Germany is very decentralized. It has 16 states, all with their own state governments and state premiers, and they really do value the power that those states can wield. I think it's fair to say it's a real feature of Germany's past that those states like to avoid giving too much power to Berlin and the capital. I think it was kind of surprising and a testament for Angela Merkel's leadership that coming out of that meeting, she did manage to get agreement with all 16 states. And we saw this second lockdown then start. It's not as strict as the last one. Worth noting, though, there is a bit of an increased police presence, certainly here in Frankfurt. I've seen a couple of times police stop people and remind them to wear a mask on busy shopping streets.
I think that COVID fatigue is a very real thing in Belgium right now, which is part of the reason why we have seen the numbers in this second wave completely blow the numbers from the first wave out of the water. I mean, by a vast margin. And the surveys that have been conducted showed that about 80% of people were adhering to these restrictions during the first wave, and that has completely waned the second time around. And even anecdotally, like Trent was saying, you kind of walk around the streets and it doesn't really feel as if everybody that's a non-essential worker should be working from home, because the traffic is at the same exact level. There are people that are still on the streets.
Yeah, and I think the size of population matters here as well. If you look at the total figures for the death toll here in the UK, it's past 50,000 yesterday officially, and that makes it one of the highest in the world, up there with the US, Brazil, Mexico and India. But if you look at per 100,000 of the population, then a country like Belgium is far more severely hit than the UK.
I think the society as a whole are pretty good at following the rules. And I think you can see an example of that in the fact that Germany, a country much larger than the UK, really has a much lower death toll. I think the latest numbers we have are around 12,000. Yet, as the health minister here has been stressing in recent weeks, with the cold winter weather starting to arrive, they do expect more people in hospital. So they're trying to free up as much capacity as possible to make sure that even the near bulletproof German health system, if you will, is able to hold up throughout the winter.
This current lockdown started on November 5th. It's set to end on December 2nd. And despite numerous questions to the government, they've been certain that this isn't a definitive date. They wish to wind it down after 4 weeks, but certainly if cases don't come down, then that could be extended. Now, the crucial thing here is Christmas is approaching, and Christmas is obviously a time when people want to spend it with their families, which means they're going to have to probably mix indoors. From what we understand, the sources close to the government say that there could be some sort of special exception allowed on that date.
I think everybody's hoping for a Christmas miracle, but I just don't know how realistic that is. We're already so unless there is another vaccine that comes out that is viable, that has great efficacy, it's going to be a long time before these measures are actually able to be rolled back.